And they are the one,
They are the
only.
partners of
They are the
Waterview
partners of Waterview
Partners.
Business Partners.
Yes.
And they are located here on Long Island. And welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. So I need their mics to be turned up a bit, please, because I can't hear
That's
them.
what I was doing now. I'm adjusting, absolutely.
No
Let me hear them
problem.
again, guys. Let me hear you again.
Hello.
Hello.
No, I got, maybe I might.
That's it. You're good.
Yeah, I can
Now you're
hear
good.
you.
There you go.
So, all right. So, gentlemen, you've come into the house of Ty and Norman. And
And Eric.
Eric. And we're talking about the cost of long term, but please explain to the people out there, because when they see Waterview Business Partners, I'm gonna go to you first and then I'll go to you. How's that? All right.
Sure.
So explain
Ian's
about
first.
what your company does, Ian.
All right. Waterview Business Partners. We are a life broker. We are a group of life planners. And,
What does that mean?
when we sit with clients, we assess their needs. We assess the full situation, listen to everything that they tell us.
These are financial needs now you're
Yes,
referring to, correct?
financial needs. Listen to everything they tell us, and what we try to do is basically protect them against whatever can go wrong. And as far as Waterview is concerned, that involves offering guarantees. You're going to need insurance products. That's the only way you're going to get surety and guarantees. And that's our specialty, and that's what we specialize in. Lou and I started Waterview Business Partners in 2010. And
You've been doing it for a while.
it's been a while, but we've been in the industry and together now for how many
Yeah, I
years,
guess we
Lou?
started, we've been doing this for 25 years, so I know this guy for
Have you
25
worked
years.
together for
Yes,
25 years?
25 years, yeah.
25 years.
Wow,
And you
that's a
still,
great relationship.
and you actually partnered up after that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a long time.
Wow, you guys are
Yeah.
special.
It-
I can just, at 56 weeks, and I don't know what's going on over here.
There was a lot more hair involved, trust me.
Really? You're gonna go there?
No,
Okay.
it goes both ways.
I don't know, is there a competition? No, I'm kidding.
I think I won.
So, all right, so Ian, we're gonna segue over to Louis. So, Lou, can I call you Lou?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, so tell me, what is your part in the business? Because you guys are partners.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
So you think about your own life and situations, you can't avoid them, and situations come up, and from our experience with our clients, there's nothing that has not been thrown our way from a client that we haven't seen. So you wouldn't surprise us in telling us a situation and trying to figure out a way to maybe insure against it. So you're not going to avoid it, but at least we're there as a resource to help navigate that world.
What kind of things are you talking about? Can you be specific on, somebody comes into, they really don't know what it is that you guys have to offer. They need help, they need planning. I would imagine you would prefer that they be younger than older, so they can make more.
Well, not necessarily. You think people come to us at every age. I mean, ideally, it's great that you could come to us at an early age and say, hey, I need a long-term care policy or a life insurance or a whole life, or there's all these different products out there. But at the end of the day, that's the last thing that people are thinking of. You're 18, 20, even 30 years old. You're not thinking about long-term care. That's the furthest thing from your
But you
thought
should be
process.
thinking
Yes.
about that. And the thing is that, and I was reading up the other day that the mindset of like the millennials are changing. They're actually more in tuned with their retirement than I was when I was in my 20s and 30s. So, is that something that is beneficial to, to your company?
Well,
That
that's
they're-
part of the equation, though.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you talk about specifically long-term care, think about it. That's the last thing that most people think about.
I have to be honest with you, back about 30 some odd years ago, long-term care first came out, and it was really, really hot, and I think it was GE or somebody was one of the big people. And
That's right.
I got offered a plan. Yeah, I don't need this, I don't need this. Now, I also had worked for a senior living organization, and I got to find out how much money it cost to be in a senior living facility. I used to
God, it's
sell
ridiculous.
those apartments
Exactly.
Yeah.
The numbers
and
are
whatever,
staggering.
and it was quite expensive, and that, if I had that, if I, God forbid, I needed, or if anybody, they used that, that was huge. That was really huge.
Norm, if you want the statistic behind that.
Please.
In the year 2000, there were 125 insurance companies selling straight long-term care insurance. Today, I think there's 3.
Is there a best,
That's,
Well,
or do they have special needs?
every company has, I would say, a product that is part of it that's unique. So that's the part that, where we come in, is we're able to navigate that world.
By finding out what someone's requirements are and
Yeah,
what they need. And
You have to sit down and talk to a client and actually find out, nothing more than really sitting down and talking about their life and getting an understanding of what their needs are. And sometimes they don't even know what their needs are. Or you might think they need something that they haven't even considered. So you have to talk to the people.
So what are some things that are important? So, you're sitting down, obviously you then do a client intake. And then you can assess what is needed. Now, do you do long-term for companies in a whole, or do you do just individual planning, or do you do both?
Do both, but I think that ideally, we like to sit down with individuals and
Okay.
get an idea of what their needs are.
Okay.
so, you asked the right question, is maybe some people don't know what their needs are. And this comes a little bit about the evolution of what happened to long-term care. So from the year 2000 until now, healthcare costs, healthcare, caregiving, it's up 3,000%. So people don't realize, you ask which companies are left. If you had taken the inflation rider back in 2000 on a policy like that, there's no way you would have been able to afford it. So nowadays, people don't understand that it looks unaffordable. So now what we're focused on is, how do you keep your money? When we sit down with somebody, we don't want to see them pay premiums and go out the window. We want your money to stay with you, to go back to your estate, find a way where the money's not getting wasted. Because those long-term care policies, they didn't work. Either they had floating premiums, where the carrier was able to raise the premium, and they raised the people right out of the ballpark, and they had to choose another way.
And you think about it, most people feel they can't afford it. And you think about living here on Long Island, you need 2 incomes just to survive.
Absolutely.
And some people living paycheck to paycheck. So at the end of the day, how do you actually put together a policy, put a product in place that's going to accomplish what the client needs and protect them and their family?
Okay, Ty and I walk in, and we sit down with you, and we want to plan for our future. So do we sit with one of you or 2, or both of you?
In some cases, both, depending on.
Okay, so we sit
If
down.
you have a complex situation, Norm, I don't know.
We don't, I'm just complex anyway.
Well,
so-
So we're an odd couple,
Yes.
that's for sure.
Well, that
So it's,
You would need
know,
2 people.
Yeah.
We might need your whole office. And Brian.
Well, I mean,
and
there,
whatever.
there are couples out there where you have one that is an extremely older person, and then the younger person.
I wasn't talking about that. We
Well,
just,
it's a
we're in
good
there, we're in our
conversation.
30s, we have a couple of kids,
You
we got a
know,
plan for the
There
future.
you go.
All right?
There you go.
Okay.
So
So what do you ask us?
happens? What's the basic intake questions?
Well, a lot of it comes down to even history. What does your family dynamic look like?
Oh,
Meaning
so
your
the
mother and
medical
father.
history.
N-
Okay.
Not necessarily medical, but I'm
Okay.
saying if there's longevity running in your household and you're, on both sides of the family.
Right.
That's something to consider. You think of the traditional sense back in the day. What happened when you got to the age where your parents, they couldn't take care of themselves? They'd move in with you. And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the best option and not necessarily an option for all. So it comes down to what I said
Or it's an
before.
option for a lot, because they don't have now the insurance and such to do, and then they're stuck.
Yes.
So what Lou's looking at, when he sits down, what Lou's looking at is what can go wrong, what's the maximum exposure to their net worth, what can harm them the most when they go to sleep at night, and that's the thing that Lou wants to fix. That's the void we want to fill when we sit down with you.
Can I ask you a question? Are one of you or both of you, or is someone in your office an actuary?
No, it's one thing that we could say, I could sit here and tell you, I know what I don't know.
Okay.
And that's important. You need as an advisor to acknowledge the fact of what your limitations are, whether it's an actuary or somebody needs Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, estate planning, that what we've done is we've made sure that we surrounded ourselves with people that can give us the answers that if we don't know it. But if you go back to initially what you're thinking about, or what you said, everybody out there knows somebody that's either in assisted living, needs long-term care, whether it be a family, a friend, and you could basically relate to those situations. I was saying before, there's probably a situation out there there's really no situation out there that we haven't come across. And that's what's unique about us, not necessarily unique, but
Well, that's
we,
your
we have a
reputation.
roadmap. We have a roadmap, and there's a learning curve. And why should you, as an individual looking for long-term care, be part of that learning curve, deal with somebody that has been through it or experienced it in some way?
No, absolutely, and knowledge is power, so if you've been through it, you're knowledgeable of it, so that's something that is important. Before we go any further, I do want to give out the show phone number, which is 888-583-9930, extension 100, that's 888-583-9930, extension 100. If you have a question for Lou or if you have a question for Ian, please call in. They provide long-term planning all over the country, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter where you are, you can call in and you can ask your questions. If they'll give you the answers to the best of their ability. And if they need more time to speak to you, I'm gonna go to you, Lou. Where can they call you?
You could call our toll-free number. and I think-
866-266-3315.
Say that again one more time.
866-266-3315.
Or you can visit them at their website at waterviewbusinesspartners.com. And, you can get more information on their site. And, so now we'll go back to the questions.
As far as personal experiences, so I could tell you a little bit about, I have a family member that went and unfortunately did all the right things everywhere else on the financial component, but did not think about long-term care. And it's unfortunate, but situation wound up happening where she needed some type of assisted care at home, which was affordable, it was doable. She wanted to stay at home, as we all want to stay at home because it's quality of life. You want to maintain dignity and independence, right? So if you can
Right.
stay home, that's where you'd like to be. But it got to the point where dangerous situations occur. And we
Yes.
all know that, we've heard these stories where somebody puts something in the oven and turns it on and forgets about it 12 hours later.
Yes.
So it got to the point where my family member, my relative, we had to put her into an assisted living facility, which was okay. She had independence and was able to maintain
She was an
you
independent
know,
living building.
Yes, a good quality of life, but then other things started happening, dementia, which is a real big thing now. And she wound up going outside the facility, going for a walk,
Uh-oh.
not knowing where she was. And then the facility said, hey, we need to do something more and we can't provide it here. So the next step was into a full-blown long-term care facility. The cost that was associated with that was beyond what anybody thought.
Scary, right?
It is.
I
Can you
the
give an
statistic.
example? Because I don't
Yeah,
think people
you're-
understand it.
If your
very
audience
well.
is ready, they need to sit down for this. So the assisted living facility that Lou just talked about, so that's $43,000 a year, and that's average, so that is not in New York. So you can add probably.
That was not in New
Not
York?
in New York.
Okay.
So-
I was in New York.
Yes.
And the average that I was selling apartments or whatever, and depending on the care, because the care is a big part of it, without the care. When you were in an independent living, $6,000 to $10,000 a month.
Easy.
Yep.
Bottom line. And then they want to have like a get to know the facility fee, which is another month of, that's
What do you mean,
ridiculous.
a get to
You
know
would
the
pay a
facility
second
fee?
month to get introduced to the waitress staff and the.
They charge you for that?
They charge you for that. It's a shame. They
They-
charge
they
you for
charge
that
you
to
for
get to
Well, I'm
know
sure
the
there's a lot of
facility.
fees that are associated
Oh,
with these
okay.
different facilities. And,
I
you know,
never knew they charged you just to know the staff.
And
That
if you've
doesn't make
actually
sense.
gone and gone to see some of these facilities, they're beautiful, but.
Stunning.
Some of them are absolutely
Beautiful.
I
amazing.
picked out where I want to go.
Really?
Well, I have two boys, so it's inevitable, like, unless I get in really good with the women. So I figure I'm gonna go to, the Dominican,
Yes.
because have you
Very-
been there?
Yes.
Holy God.
Yep.
It is like the mecca of nursing homes.
But go back to what I was originally saying. Ideally, if the choice is yours, and it's not always your choice, where would you like to be? You would like to be at home. So a lot of the products that are out there offer the ability for you to stay at home and get care at home.
Right.
And, also these products, you talk about New York State. Let's say you decide to move to Florida, you go somewhere else. You could transport this product and get the care elsewhere. So it's not just in New York State.
Okay, so that's a good deal. So at least it's transferable and it goes with you, and
Yes.
it's not like you're stuck.
Now-
But go
I'm
on.
sorry, Ian, you mentioned about the cost of being about $4,000 out of New York. Now,
43,000.
43,000, okay. What states are we referring to, and where have you actually helped people go to? Because we have a national audience.
We have an
So-
international
Inter-
audience,
well,
but
yeah, but
we are
international's
national.
not gonna call us.
Yeah.
But national may give you a phone call. So what states have you been to, or
So-
have you been involved with?
So Norm, the second part of that was I gave you a national figure. That's one reason I didn't just focus on New York, because everyone that's here probably has already digested the sticker shock of New York. So nationally, it was 92,000. But it's not a matter of where to go. It's what product is going to help you
Right.
have that flexibility to stay in your home, and basically you'll have the ability to choose what you want to do. So we're here tonight to tell people that there are other products. They're called linked products, or products that act as a cash pool where your money stays with you. It's almost like it could be it's a life insurance policy with a long-term care element to it that may also have cash value and a death benefit.
Explain.
So what that is essentially, and these can be offered monthly as well, so paid for monthly. So let's say, and the best part of it is, and I'm going to use the two of you as a couple, as you said before. I'm going to tell you the best part of what you may have going for you is, and unfortunately, some people can be disqualified as far as their health. So the best part you have going for you is, A, you're under 70, and B, you're in decent health, no chronic conditions. If that's the case, believe it or not, there happens to be a carrier out there that just has a phone interview rather than a full medical exam.
Oh, wow.
Whereas it's more powerful. So there was
That's important.
There was a plan out there that was compensation based. In other words, if you qualified, you submit your bills to the medical bills to the carrier, and they would pay them. In New York, as of last July, there was a carrier that came out with a product. This is one reason we got a little bit excited. Carrier came out with a product that is indemnity-based. So it's all values guaranteed. In other words, you qualify for long-term care. You can't do 2 of the 5 activities of daily living. The check comes to the mailbox. Between 4 and 6 years, you will qualify for of coverage monthly. That's very powerful. We're talking about, let's say, in total, if you were looking at, let's say it was a $50,000 face in total, that might get you as much as $3,000 or $4,000 a month in coverage, depending on your age, your medical condition, and so on. Obviously, if you're applying for this at 69, you're not going to be looking at as much coverage as if you applied when you were 50.
So if I apply to 50, what's roughly my monthly cost?
That really depends on, that does depend on some things. Just in this particular case, there's the phone interview. They're going to ask you some specific questions about history, what
Goes back to your
medications you might
family
be
history.
taking. But to make a long story short, you would receive that check, it comes to the mailbox, and you can do with it what you want. As a matter of fact, you could have a situation where your spouse might need care as well. You have care coming to the house already. The spouse needs care as well. There's nothing to say you can't spend that money on that also. You'll be able to spend the money as you wish. So the expense-based product that was another carrier that was basically in my opinion, as far as keeping your money, that was the best game in town until this carrier came out and said, okay, well, we're just going to send the check to the mailbox and forget about having to keep an accounting of the bills, because if you
That's
ever talk
great.
to anybody that went through a claim, that's very important. But that's,
You think about in many cases, when you're at home, who's taking care of you? It's a family member.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
family member. for the
So
most
if
part.
it's, especially that the person has their own bills. So if they're not working and they're taking care of you, there's that responsibility, at least you feel. And the last thing that you want to have as a person that's in need of long-term care is to feel like you're a burden to your family.
That I saw a lot too when I worked in that field. The kids, you might think that the kids want to keep them home, the parents home. They don't want to do that. They want their freedom, and it's terrible to go and say, but not everybody.
No.
But there are, like, you've been through this and you took care of your parents
Yeah,
to your
that's-
in-laws to the dying end.
Yeah.
So it's not everyone that's like that. But I saw quite a number of people that just couldn't wait, to get their mom or dad or both of them, into a facility.
But what this does is it gives you options, and that's the whole idea of this, is that you have options when you have a policy in place. And New York State, in my opinion, I think is one of the more stringent or difficult states to have policies
Of
like this.
course.
And hence we live here.
Yeah.
But, outside of New York State, if you have a residence outside of New York State, or let's say you live half the time here and half.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What if you live you're between states? Like,
Well-
how does that work?
You could still, like I said before, transfer the policy outside the state, but there's certain policies that are outside New York that you could have a joint policy, husband and wife. So hopefully you don't both need care, but the policy allows for the transference of, the care, and also brings down the total premium that's due. So the total amount that the policy costs.
so what you're saying is that Norm and Ty came to us, another very positive point for you, if you came to us, you're married. Right there, it drops the premium a little bit.
That's
Because
outside of New York State. I don't think there really are any carriers right now that offer a joint policy in New York State.
Okay, so it's beneficial if you're actually married outside of New York at this moment. So hopefully that changes.
So people gotta start moving.
So do the right thing, marry her. No. So guys, we got to take a quick break, a commercial break, and then when we get back, please call in with your questions, 888-583-9930, extension 100. But stick around and stay tuned for Ian and Lil.
In today's world, being virtual is vital to any business, no matter how big or small. So how does a small or a mid-sized business compete with the bigger companies? Well, the answer is simple. You hire a company that's affordable and recognized for doing what's right and just for all its clients, no matter what the size. At Network Marketing Specialist Media Agency, NMS, they pride themselves in putting together a package that suits the needs of each client. They analyze what's working and what's not working. They keep you in the loop and provide you with the ability to expand your virtual reach, increasing your brand recognition in front of the demographic that's right for your company. Your time is precious and it's valuable. Whether you want to be more recognized on social media or physically, you still have a business to run. So let NMS be the virtual you. Give Ty Vicari a call at 631-839-6705. That's 631-839-6705. Once again, that's 631-839-6705. Check him out on the web at Ty, that's T-A-I, Vicari, VICARINMS.com. Let NMS be the virtual you. Sunday, February 11, 2018 at 3 o'clock at the Brookside Auditorium in Merrick, New York. Friend Entertainment USA 30th Anniversary Doo-Wop Concert. $45. Tickets are only $45. You're not going to see this anywhere but here, folks. 30 years of bringing great tribute entertainment in theaters and concert halls across the country. But on this night, Friend Entertainment is taking you back to how it all began with a doo-wop concert starring the country's best doo-wop bands to do pre Freeze, the Fireflies, Larry Chance and the Earls, Cleveland Stills and the Doves, Kayla Stockard, the Tribunes Acapello, and Denise Siegi. I hope I said that right. Anyway, former lead singer of Sammy Sax and the MDs. Once again, Sunday, February 11, 2018, 3 o'clock. It doesn't get any better than this. $45 at the Brookside Auditorium, Friend Entertainment USA, the 30th anniversary doo-wop concert. Come on, be there.
Please wait for me.
Oh my goodness. And you know what, folks, if you are on Long Island and you love doo-wop, don't forget to get your tickets. Norman is diligently standing by every single day waiting for his
Yeah, I
phone
sit
to
by the
ring.
phone all day, and I hope for it to ring.
Yeah,
By the
yeah.
way, to
You
make the
pick up
phone
your
ring-
you pick up your rotary phone, right?
That's exactly right. The one that's attached to the wall.
With the long
We're gonna
cord.
take $10 off a ticket if you mention the code name Princess. Because I'm sitting next to the
I'm a
radio
queen,
prince,
dear.
a queen, I'm
I'm a
sorry.
queen.
That's right, I forgot, the age made you the queen. So if you mention,
good
Queenie, Queenie, we will take $10 off a ticket
There you
for you,
go.
there you go.
And Queenie can mean both things. It can mean me or him. So anyway, so we're
Okay.
back with Ian Greenblatt and Louis Pepe of Waterview Business Partners, and we're talking long-term planning. And you know what, folks, if you have any questions, if you have any stories about things that have happened
With your parents.
with your parents, give us a call at 888-583-9930, extension 100. Or if you can go in the chat room. And now, really quick, I'm just going to say hello to a few people that are in the chat room right now. We have Jen Johnson, we have Sean Griffin, we have Brenda Woodward, James Diaz, Ann Garbarino,
Hi, Candy.
Gary Jones, Ann is really cool. Steve Kurtz, Loretta Lampert, Charlie Razinson. I always mess up his name.
Charlie could use this.
Charlie, you're old. Give us a call.
Yeah, give a call.
Joe Cavera, Rosemary Harden. Thank you guys for listening in. And if you have any questions or any, maybe you want to just say something about long-term planning, give us a call at
There were some new names in there
888-583-9930,
that you mentioned.
extension 100. That's true. Now, who did we leave off with? We left off with Ian. So, what were you saying? So, you were talking about, what were you talking about? I don't know, drawing a blank
We were
here.
talking about
There
the
you
other
go.
products.
The other products, Link. What is that?
All right, so when I say linked products, so
Yeah,
that
what is
you
that?
can, there's one number of carriers out there, they're very competitive, and they offer different features. So one of those features could be a life policy with a long-term care rider attached. They call that, or with a linked benefit. They could have a critical illness rider. So there's items that are linked there to meet a specific need or something that may come up, and that's very important. Going back to the long-term care, we're here to tell people that there is a solution for them to stay in their home, but you touched on it, and that's what we were talking about towards the end, was tackling it in the sweet spot, and we call that sweet spot 50 to 55 now, is where you want to take that.
Is that enough time?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely, because.
It's not ideal, but,
What is the average Joe living to nowadays?
well,
So-
it's funny, you have the stats better than I do, but, women live a lot longer than men for a lot of
Oh,
reasons.
God.
I'm
Here we
not
go.
going there.
You know
Just saying.
exactly what
So
we
it's-
have to
That's
go
what
through.
my husband said, you're gonna outlive me.
Get ready.
That always winds up happening.
It's the
So-
women that need the care.
So statistically speaking, women have more of a need for this product than men.
Okay.
And if you look at the average period of time when somebody that goes on to long-term care, that needs that need, I'm not saying they actually pass away, but you may not need it for the entire time.
Okay.
So there's situations that arise that you need it for a period of time, and then you don't need it. And so some of these policies actually, they turn on and turn off. You may not necessarily need long-term care for the same reasons. Most people think old age, but there's other reasons.
So name a few things that would be another reason, other than being a super senior citizen, what would be another reason why you would need long-term?
Well, I mean, there's other ailments that take place that puts you
Yeah,
in that
so
situation.
cancer, it would be one of them.
Yes.
Some people, I know that they're getting they get Alzheimer's before. I know someone that was diagnosed with it and she's only in her 50s. And I thought it was like, I didn't know you can get it that young.
You can get
You
it
know,
younger.
so, yeah, but there are different things out there. What about accidents? If you're, God forbid, you get into a debilitating, accident.
So what we're getting into, as we may have touched on before, is those activities of daily living. Technically, if you can't do 2 of the 5 activities of daily living, then
What
if you
are the
had
5?
Thank you.
So, dressing, if you're in a wheelchair, transferring from the bed to the wheelchair,
Bathing,
Bathing.
eating.
So
Everyday comments.
Yeah, I mean, the things that we
Things
take for,
everybody does. Take for
granted every
right.
day.
it's basically everything you do before 9 o'clock in the morning.
I honestly didn't even think about that,
It's,
Tomorrow morning, that's what you'll be thinking about.
So, from the insurer's standpoint, sometimes it's better to look at it from the other side. From the insurer's standpoint, they're saying, okay, if you can't do 2 of the 5 activities of daily living, you go to a doctor and you're clinically not able, then you qualify, and if you have the policy, you can collect.
But if I qualify, roughly don't be specific, but roughly speaking, on a monthly basis, what would a fee be?
Well, let's go back to the start of this is, knowing the person's situation. So a lot of the times, and you mentioned intake, a lot of what we do is really just talking to the client and have a worksheet and actually find out, the other aspects of your life that you plan for properly. You could do all the proper planning and have done everything right, but if you lost sight of the most important thing, which is the long-term care component, that could, the costs that we talked about before, you add those numbers up on a yearly basis, it'll wipe you out.
Oh,
Oh,
So-
it
you
will.
wipe that before you get started.
Yeah,
Yes.
it really will. You have to have some type of a nest egg to begin with.
So-
and it's just ridiculous.
But the
I
point is, you
know
could do all those
recently.
things right,
Yeah.
right from the beginning. But, when we go and sit with somebody, one of the initial things we want to find out, do you have a long-term care policy? Because that's one of the first things you should be talking about.
And who's going to take care of you? So I had to answer Norm's question. So I had a client say to me, okay, well, I know if something happens to me, my daughter's going to help me for at least 3 years. So I'm only going to need 12 hours of, I would never need 24-hour care. So I won't need more than $4,000 a month. So to answer your question, so they were adamant, we structured the policy that way, and that's the way we did it. But that's how we do it, Norm. We would take a
But
look.
wouldn't you
So
want to have
do you
more
give
versus
them-
not enough?
That was my recommendation, not to mention that's very burdensome. That type of care, that is
But not only
as
that,
extreme
but
as it gets.
God forbid something happens to your daughter. What do you do then? You
Mm-hmm.
have this plan in your head
Yep.
that
That's a very
your
good point.
daughter is going to take care of you, but, and
Your
I
daughter's
know
life's going to
this.
change too, and things,
Yeah, things happen, what if she ends up, or he, or, could be your son, but what if they're your person that you had, something happen to them, or something happens to one of their children, and they have to then take care of that kid, they can't necessarily split themselves.
No, that's part of the
There's
intake.
A lot of different variables that can happen.
The what ifs.
So do you, my husband always says, plan for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Exactly.
And we know firsthand a lot of worst.
it's not a problem
So-
till it's a problem, and that's
Yeah.
the way most people approach it. But that's ideally a formula for disaster. And from my personal standpoint, I have 3 boys. I have 1 son with special needs, so I can't necessarily say where that situation is going to be in the future. The last thing that I want to be is a burden to my 3 boys, expecting that they're going to take care of me. That's,
So do you go over this with individuals, and do you say, do you make suggestions when they tell you their game plan? and you do notice that there may be potential flaws in the game plan, do you say to them or suggest to them, what, you paint a picture to them of more realistic view so that they can see it and
Tough
understand
conversation
it?
to have.
Yeah.
That's one of
Yeah,
the
well, I
reasons
can't
that most
imagine,
people are not covered.
so what do you do in a case like that?
It's not just even a parent and their children, but it's the spouse, husband and wife. I have a client that he says, I'm never going to a nursing home, and if I have to, I don't care where it is, and I'll take care of it. I'm going to self-insure. It doesn't matter. The wife, she has 3 dogs. She says, I'm not leaving my house, and I want to stay here. And this particular couple, it's a real situation, they qualify for a joint policy outside New York State, and they can't even get on the same page themselves. So you talk about difficult conversations.
But that's your business. I mean,
Exactly.
basically talking about death. What do you do up to the death
It's a
period?
difficult
And,
conversation to
and no
have.
one likes to speak about the inevitable, which is so strange, but I mean, go on. Ian.
So I'm gonna
Chime in.
share a story I have. I have the iron worker. Let's use him. He 30 years of work. You're gonna say, how did you talk to him? I showed him the numbers. I showed him what that cost of care is going to be,
Yeah,
and what it would
numbers don't
do,
lie.
and what it would do to his net worth. The money he saved, he's a saver. He saved his whole life, and bless him for what he was able to do. But the numbers work for themselves. So because of the cost, because of the inflation and the evolution over the last 15 years and the status of our healthcare system, which is probably another conversation, and we can come back and have another show on that. But because of all that, the answers sort of speak for themselves. And whereas long-term care used to be the last conversation in the 1995, year 2000, 2005, that would be at the end of what you put together. We are leading with that now, because that is when we sit down, that is what can blow a hole in your net worth faster than you can think. We need to address it first.
Back in the day when I was first married and such, and you sit with a financial person, one of the things that they would offer, what would suggest to you, is an insurance policy, a whole life policy that by the time that you're such and such years old, you take a $300,000 policy, it's going to yield $2 million to you because it keeps on getting compounded and compounded and compounded over a period of time, 20 years, or whatever it may be. Do you have those kind of things? Like if a couple, if they're planning and they're kind of young, is there such a thing that will yield this kind of money to them, whether they used it for long-term care or whether because that's what
Yep.
they're going to use the insurance for after that whole life policy is done and they draw the money out. I mean, it's savings. Do you have such a plan like that?
That goes back to what he was saying before. There are policies, there's products out there
That you can
that
start
can
off when.
satisfy
Okay.
that need.
Right.
There'll be a long-term care rider on a life insurance policy. The downside, let me get, instead of talking about the wonderful upsides, just what are the pros, what are the cons? The con to that, though, Norm, would be the death benefit could be lowered. The cash value might not grow as quickly. Cash value will definitely not grow as quickly. But it may
It
be
serves
worth
its
it.
purpose.
It may serve its purpose. You have a couple, and could be there could be a chronic illness not within the immediate family, but in the extended family. And if that's the case, then the fit becomes a little bit better. Right now, one of the stronger ways to guard against that, all things considered, is this straight product I was talking about before that has the 3 buckets and the money comes directly to you. That's the strongest one I've seen, and that's one of the reasons we're here tonight to get that message out that there are
Is there
solutions.
a name to it? Is that the link?
What's that?
Or what's the name
It's
of that policy?
called Waterview Business Partners at,
866-266-3315.
there
We
you
can give
go,
all
and
the
you can get
details.
the secret name.
So, to go off topic for a moment.
Yes.
You brought up an interesting point with, a new couple. You think about it, if you're a new couple, you have some young children, a $200,000-300,000 mortgage, whether you're the husband or the wife, statistically speaking, insurance, life insurance, you're probably not going to need it. Just a cheap term life insurance policy. In theory, probably, hopefully you don't need it. But in the event something happens to you, you want, in theory, at least have a policy in place that's going to cover your mortgage for your home. So at least you're
At the very least.
At the very
At the
least.
very
Right.
least,
So, you know, that same approach when it comes to looking at your mortgage and saying, what do I have outstanding on my mortgage? I have these young children. My wife or husband is a stay-at-home person. How are they going to provide the ability to take care of the bills? You know, that's a big issue. So when we talk about long-term care, same concept. You talk about having a life insurance policy, something that has a cash value. You put something in place early enough, it's going to serve that purpose.
Right. We got a message here that this is a very interesting conversation by Jen Johnson.
Oh, thank you,
She
Jen.
wrote in and she says, great conversation, very interesting.
Okay, and so since we're going to, with life planning, do they also help understand what to include in a living will? That's a question.
Great question. So it goes back to what I said before.
Okay,
I know what I don't know. And certainly for me, when you talk about wills and trust and estate planning, special needs trust, that's a very, very important issue, a component that needs to be taken care of. So what we've done is we've established relationships with people, attorneys
Right.
that do estate planning, set up special needs trusts, life estates. So having an estate plan put in place or working with an attorney, that's great, but you have to take care of the other component, which is the long-term care and the insurance portion. We work together. So when it comes to a client and they have a special a need, they don't have a life estate, they don't have a will, they don't have a trust, they don't have a healthcare proxy, we make sure that we put them in touch with somebody that's going to take care of that part.
so we
It's
have Brian Cohen, and he says, happy to see Waterview Business Partners team on the program. Very important information.
I think I
So-
know.
Thank you, Brian.
Avid supporter.
Just a few more shout outs. Oh, by the way, Charlie Resinson said that a stroke could be one of those things that you would need long-term care for, and he's right about that. And you know, we do have a few other people that are watching on. We have Kasha, Vicky, Debbie, Kathy, Manny, Karen, Tammy, Brian Gunnon, Aviva, Samuel, Jace. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Sunny, thank you for tuning in. Who said what? Someone said something. Ty, did you say hi to everyone on? Ha 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 ha. I'm trying to say hi. Yeah, for the longest time.
Don't leave
'Cause
anybody out.
I said instead of saying podcast, I'd say Peapod because I shop with Peapod, so that's like
Slip of
in
the tongue.
my head.
Okay.
So now they make fun of me every time when I'm like, don't forget to tune in. So thanks guys.
Sorry, I signed a new client, an entertainer, and we were chatting, and then he was supposed to call me back, and he hadn't. And the conversation was going really, really well. And then I get a message, his sister was taken to the hospital. She's 30-something years of age. Her face was paralyzed on the side. She wound up having a mini stroke at
Oh, wow.
35
30
years of age.
Crazy. But it
That's
happens.
No,
But I
no,
think
she's
it's
okay.
because
She
of-
got her face back, you know, and she could walk and she could do whatever. But she has to be careful now. You know, and it can happen. This stuff can happen anytime to anyone, anywhere.
But it goes back to what we said before. Somebody like that might need care.
Yeah.
Maybe it's at home, maybe it's in a facility. But the whole idea is receiving the care and the proper assistance to rehabilitate that person to where they can take care of themselves. So certain policies that are out there can afford you that ability to get that long-term care while you need it.
So have we discussed all those policies?
Well,
Are
yeah.
there more?
Well,
No,
there's
basically,
probably
I'm
a
just
lot.
giving as an
Yeah.
example of what you just said. There are policies out there. There's
Is there
products out
another one you'd like to chat about?
Well, I don't, not specific products, but just generally speaking, there's, going back to what I said before, there's probably not an example of a situation that we haven't seen, we haven't come
Okay.
across. So it goes back to having a roadmap for us.
Can you mention the strangest one you ever had? That
situation.
makes for good radio.
I don't know if
That
this-
makes for good radio.
I don't know if
think
I'll
this
go
whole
there.
conversation
You don't have
makes
to
for
mention
good
anybody's
radio.
names, but, you know.
But you know what? I was wondering because I do see a few things here. First off, everyone, they do provide services in the tri-state area, and if you want to check them out and learn more about what they can do for you, you know, or if you want to contact them and set up an appointment, you can go to waterviewbusinesspartners.com. And, you know, you'll get either Lou or Ian or both, depending on what the situation is. And their website is pretty, you know, interesting. So, you know,
It's
take
really
a look
nice.
at it. Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
It's very
Website is
well
really
done.
nice.
Whoever
Thank
did
you.
it, they did a very good job.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, preparing for your future is important. And getting back to you guys, you have here how to identify potential problems in the future. Like, how can somebody do that? Like, you can't do that. Like, I mean, you can, I guess you can, but
Well,
how,
to a
how would
degree.
someone be
certain
able to
people
do
have
that?
a plan for themselves. They think that they're going to self-insure, or I have my two kids, goes back to what we were talking about before. My kids are going to take care of me. Well, I guarantee you that I had a conversation with those kids and say, well, you know, your mom had mentioned possibly maybe she would move in later on in life if do you have a place for her? And that son or daughter may have no intention of even being in New York State. They may,
Absolutely.
you know, they have lives of their own. So
Yeah, they have spouses or whatever their situation
So
is.
people
Yeah.
we all do it, we're all guilty of it. We make assumptions in life and assume that this is going to happen or that's going to happen. You can't live your life on assumptions. So, you know, that's
It's rare you
where
come
we find
across.
those flaws.
It's rare you come across somebody who planned for the worst, took a policy, and then you don't rarely you hear them say, "Well, I regret doing that." They have a cash value. They have a place to go if they needed, if in worst case they needed money, and it provides a need, whether it's income replacement or a survivor benefit, whatever it may be. It served its purpose.
So
My
how can
suggestion.
you ensure that someone is going to follow your wishes?
Well, that comes to us following up with that person and making sure that they're doing what's necessary and actually take out a policy. You know, at the end of the day, we all know somebody that is either in a long-term care facility or assisted living and I would say if you're having doubts about taking a long-term care policy, go talk to one of the relatives of somebody that's in a facility and
Absolutely.
say, that doesn't have a policy, and get an idea of what the transition was, how much it cost, and not
That'll make you die.
Put aside the cost of it. The other component that we really haven't talked about it, what does it do to the extended family?
You know what?
That's-
And I
that's a
gotta
big issue.
say, I've recently dealt with this in the past, in less than 6 months. So, you know, for you guys out there that don't really know the real deal on it, so you have a senior citizen or you have someone that's dealing with long-term care, okay? You have them at home, you're doing the best you can. But at one point in time, you just can't do it all. Because what you're doing is you're feeding, you're bathing, you're changing because, you know, they can no longer control themselves or, you know, accidents happen and this and that. And if they're wheelchair bound, you know, you're lifting and you're doing all of this stuff. And I tell you, I know firsthand. Then you say to yourself, all right, let's see what we can do because, you know, I just can't do it anymore. You know, I can't physically do it anymore. Plus, you got to take care of your kids. Plus, you got to take care of your husband or your wife, whatever your situation
Life gets
is.
in the way. I mean, it's emotionally,
Exactly. You have
mentally,
a job,
physically exhausting.
You know, you have all of this stuff going on. So all these different things are going on. Then they have Medicare, okay? Because then a lot of people, oh, they have Medicare. Medicare will pay for it. Not really.
No, that's a misnomer. I can give you
That's a misconception completely.
Yes.
I'll tell you that firsthand.
But the government's here to help you. so-
Yeah. What happens is this. You call up, you find out that you have your supplemental insurance, right? And so they'll say, well, what does the plan say? And you'll say, you know, it's Empire Blue Cross. I'm just using that as an example because it's something I know about. And they say, well, okay, well, they pay up to this, but they're only going to pay initially for the 40 days. right? And so you go in for the 40 days, and then after that, you have to pay $160 something every single day thereafter.
Sounds like you've been
for
through this.
15 days. Then after that, you have to pay the full amount because Medicare's not going to pick up the bill, and neither is your insurance after that. This person has to be there for more than, what is that, 40, for more than 55, 60 days, okay? So then what do? Now you're gonna have to pay out of pocket, all right? So this is where this long-term planning comes into place, because if you had that, you wouldn't have to worry about what comes next. What comes next is
Nice
that
not to worry.
even though it was 165, and that's low, low, low place, because it's really, when you get down to it, because now the person is wheelchair bound, so they're gonna need physical help. They're gonna need a 2-man lift. They're gonna need to be bathed. They're gonna need to be fed. They're gonna have this special diet plan. They're gonna have to have their medications administered to them, all by this facility. They're gonna need to be changed, showered, you name it, the whole entire works. Think of every single thing that you were doing with this individual, or that you may potentially do. Now this facility is gonna do it. Plus, they got nurses there that are on staff, doctors there that are on staff. They have aides there that are on staff. They have transport that's on staff, and physical therapists. So you got all of these things that are coming into play. Money, 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 money,
But
money,
you
money.
pay
It's an a la
extra
carte
in
menu.
these facilities.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So that's the, so
Exactly.
you're paying next to 1,500 a day. Times that by 10 years, 15 years. My uncle, he was supposed to, the doctor said, oh, he wouldn't live for 3 months. 5 years later,
Oh, my God.
okay, and, and I, God willing, he'll live another 5 years or another 10 years. He's 90-something right now. But this is what I'm saying, so.
And this is what you guys
This
deal
is
with.
what
Yeah.
the
You have
gentlemen
to
in this
consider.
room, this is what they're planning for. They're not planning for, what if you stub your toe and you get back in? They're planning for, what if
Catastrophes.
this happens where this person needs full physical care, has to be put into a facility, or let's say you want to keep your relative at home, that's fine, but you still need a person that is qualified on full staff. And that costs you $240 a day. I know, because I tried to find out how much
It
that
sounds like
costs.
you've been through this.
And that, my friends, is only for 5 days.
And that's not including nights, correct?
That's not including nights.
That's a whole new
That's-
ballgame
That's,
when
that's
you go to the
12
night.
hour.
Correct.
So then you gotta double that. So you're talking about $480 a day for 2 people to come in, all right? 5 days only. We still got Saturday and Sunday. So this is something that,
tough.
If you want to put your life
So-
on hold and take care
So
of that person.
give
Yeah.
that
it's a
phone
different
number
story.
again. Give
What
it
is
out
the
to the
number?
world.
Good.
How do they reach you to avoid this?
866-266-3315.
I don't hear you. Do that one again.
866-266-3315.
There you go.
So there you go.
And your email address or your website address.
You can
It's
reach,
water-
It's
Waterview Business.
waterviewbusinesspartners.com. That's Waterview Business Partners. Put on that S.com. All right. It says, too awesome, Ty. At least you know it's done to make you. Okay, there you go. Ty, good show tonight. Islander game sucks. I'm sorry. I had no control of that. That's why I'm a Ranger fan. Sorry.
Are there any special events? Are you giving any lectures anywhere? Is there anything? Do you hold any classes where people can come and in a group and listen to what you have to say?
We are planning some educational seminars and put together a group, group setting. But a lot of what we do for people is individual based because it's a hard topic to talk about.
It
So-
is, but it's a
Oh, we're not going to
necessary
talk,
one.
but you're going to get people there.
Well,
that
you
you'll
get
set
people
up
into a room,
appointments.
yes,
Right.
we were planning on something.
You know what,
like that.
folks? If you want, you can go to their website and they have informative blogs, okay, that they post up there. And you can read the blogs and it can help you with understanding the topic a little bit better. And then you go and you sit down and you talk to these gentlemen, or you go to the next, when is your next thing again? I'm sorry.
We're planning on, we just have to come up with,
Okay,
nail down
so-
a date.
Subscribe to their website, and as soon as that date comes about, you're going to be able to get the information on when the event is. And in the interim of that, you go to their website and you read up on anything that you need knowledge of, and pick up the phone.
We're
Yeah,
on
even
Facebook,
if you
too.
just call them
Sure.
and say,
Yeah.
can you give me a call back? Conversation is cheap. You don't charge anything for a consultation.
not at all.
They can
No.
talk on the phone, they can come into your office, and they can present their possible situations, and you can explain what you can do.
You know, I just to say that if you think that you're going to self-insure and.
You gotta
take
be out of
care-
your mind.
That's a formula for disaster. And
Absolutely.
especially if you intend, you work hard for your money and you want that money to be hopefully for living expenses and if for some people, it's legacy money. They want to leave it to their children.
It's
So-
almost as though you're gambling by doing nothing.
Yeah, your life should not be a crapshoot.
Right.
That's for sure.
I mean, you take
You
life
know,
insurance or whatever for your life to give to your kids or to leave to whomever it may be or to use, if it's a savings type of plan. Have you not at least find out about long-term care?
Explore it.
I'm sorry that I didn't do it back in the day when I could have done it.
Yeah, you know what? I know that I have to do it. I know that we have like, right now, currently, we have like insurance policies. We have accidents, we have cancer.
then you
know,
should
we
call
have
I have an
this
opening
stuff.
tomorrow morning if you'd like to come in
There
and
you
talk.
go.
We get discount, friend entertainment, Ty and the Music Man discount?
Friends and family.
So, you know what, you know what the discount would be? The discount would be.
$10 off?
Yeah, $10 off.
Queenie gets a
yeah.
discount.
Yeah, there you go. Queenie gets a discount. There you
Queenie
go,
gets everything.
Queen.
Of course.
But so you guys, when you have something, please let me know, and I will let people
Absolutely.
know when it is. And is there anything, because we're coming towards the end of the hour, and I just have to say, an hour goes by super quick, doesn't it?
Very quickly.
Yeah. So.
Anything you want to bring up, anything you want
We
to,
also have a Facebook page, so if you could go like our Facebook page,
Oh,
certainly.
and their
definitely.
Facebook page is so super interactive because they were tagging me on stuff and they were just sharing this program. So it's Waterview Business Partners. That's Waterview Business Partners. And that's also waterviewbusinesspartners.com. Give that phone number one more time.
It's 866-266-3315.
I can't hear you. What is it?
866-266-3315.
I heard that
And
one.
in closing remark, I would just say, have the conversation. It doesn't cost anything. If you're thinking about it, if you're wondering about it, you have questions, call and ask, reach out to a professional, because this, unfortunately, the situation is one that can occur. It can happen in a split
Ask
second.
before it's
and
too
your-
late.
And your life changes.
Right.
And it changes your family's life and everybody around you. So you do the right thing and have the conversation with a professional that knows the product for you and whether you need a product or not. We didn't even talk about the fact that if somebody doesn't, we only give people what they need. That's it. We just want to cover the void that needs to be filled.
What are good
Nothing more.
referrals for you? Who would you like to meet?
Estate
on the
planners,
business side.
accountants, are the two, key places that.
Senior care people?
Another one, but senior care people, what's interesting, it's not necessarily the people that are there, it's their family,
Their
their
families
kids,
that
they
realize.
recognize the need. That's why I said, if you have a conversation with somebody that has a father, son, a father or mother in a facility, and that does not have a policy, have a conversation with that person, because, that if you're not sold on the idea of exploring it, at least exploring it and talking to somebody, that person will convince you to do so.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's better to be proactive than reactive in life. So this is just definitely, this is like a no-brainer.
And we're all living longer.
So,
If you think about
yeah.
it, medication, I mean, things that were terminal 15, 20 years ago, we're all living longer. And I said before, women are living longer than
Yes.
men, so hence, it's why it's more
I
of an
think
issue.
my plan is I have another about 14 months. And
Yep.
then I'm gone. So I better
I
call you
doubt
guys
that.
real fast.
So you guys better go to his concert. It's on
better go.
February 11th.
Because in 14 months, I'm history.
Yeah, so it's the Music Man's final goodbye doo-wop style. So.
Very good.
You better not go anywhere, Norm.
I better raise the price then. I'm going to need care.
We need to pay for the coffin, Greg. No.
Yeah, come on, Craig.
You have more energy.
What do you got coming up?
So I have coming up on the second and fourth Fridays of every month. It's Ty's Club at Mario's in East Setauket. Oh my goodness, $25, and that gets you entrance and food and
It's a good place for you
time to
guys to
speak. You know what, there's business people, 25 to 30 business people come every Ties Club meeting, which is the second and fourth Friday of the month. February 11th, I'm just going to segue into you because we're running out of time. February 11th is the Doo-Wop 30th anniversary show for Friend Entertainment USA in North Merrick. For tickets, call 631-698-9696. That is 631-698-9696. And thank you.
Mention Queenie.
Mention Queenie, get $10 off. Thank you so much, Ian Greenblatt. Thank you
You guys
so
did
much,
great.
Louis Pepe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
Waterview Business Partners.
Really good. Love to have you back.
Norman,
Very
welcome.
interesting.
you rock.
You rock, baby.
And thank you, everybody. Say goodbye, everybody. And
Goodbye,
God
everybody.
bless
We'll
you.
see you all next week.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.